virtue along your path. Take up the virtues that you hold most dear and accentuate them as you walk your spiritual path. Develop them. Become that development that you seek personally, that you seek deep within yourself. Don't allow somebody else's development or how they want you to develop determine what you do. Take up that which you admire and become that which you admire. The virtues that we love, whether it be oneness, whether it be patience, whether it be wisdom, whether it be constancy, whether it be strength, whether it be an acceptance of others or coexistence or an ability to feel deeper than other people feel. Whatever kind of virtue that you hold most dear along your spiritual path, even if it's just a basic virtue like calmness or a basic virtue of working towards contentment. None of these words are, a lot of these are phrases, but there are these practices within these virtues that we can follow that lead us to the core of this experience, that lead us to the core of realizing what we value most as individuals. Realizing who we truly are by taking up the reins of our personhood. Now, when we are born, we as people, we as sentient beings, have these tendencies, these spirit tendencies, these soul tendencies to go towards maybe working towards a better understanding of the universe or a more calm relationship with others, working towards love or compassion, or working away from pain and showing people how one can develop a path that doesn't require as much pain as most people experience in their normal lives, in their daily lives. A lot of us are destined to become teachers. A lot of us are destined to become gurus. A lot of us are destined to just work as individual practitioners. But everybody is at least destined to be a spiritual practitioner, a solitary practitioner a lot of the time. And then we have the very dogmatic religions where, okay, you fall in line, you worship God this way, you follow what we want you to be, and then that's your spiritual path. That is not, in my opinion, if you just follow what other people tell you and you don't have a personal practice and you don't have a personal relationship to God, the God, spirit, soul, everything, the universe, multiverse, whatever you want to call it, if you don't have a personal relationship, then that isn't taking up virtue. Take up virtue. Take up your relationship to everything and strengthen it. That's when virtue truly exists, when the individual accepts responsibility for their own development and works towards their chosen virtues, the virtues that they are drawn to, and develops them in a way that brings them closer to the source of all virtue. That source that basically created this canvas that we can experience each other, the world, ourselves in, and allows us to basically lay down our own tracks of virtue along these lines that are varied, but always leading in the same direction if it truly is a virtue. Never allow yourself to become dependent on a priest for you to communicate with God. Always develop a meditative state where you can either pray, where you can meditate, where you can offer, where you can ask, where you can work in magic, if you are more towards that realm. If you want to work in just the developments of your spirit through different yogas, the development of your knowledge in relation to the universe, still having that connection through Jnana Yoga. If you Kriya Yoga, the ascension of the spirit, the life force up the spine. Kundalini Yoga is another way to put it, but Kriya Yoga is a little bit different, very involved with breath and the spiritual evolution in a single lifetime at a time. But anyway, there are many different kinds of yogas, even Hatha Yoga, developing your body, really becoming the aspect of health and allowing your mind to be clear as a result, because making your body the aspect of health can make your mind clear and it's easier to experience God. But these are just very basic ideas about the yogas in Hinduism and the different yogic paths, but you don't necessarily have to follow one of those paths. Pursue a virtue. Let's say you want to pursue patience. Always be patient in your life. Always accept that everyone else has these extreme emotions, just like we often start out as, but as we develop, patience, then we start to have less and less extremity in our emotions. But always allow somebody to say what they want to say, even if they're angry at you, and just take it with patience, and then say what you need to say. Patience doesn't mean walking away or letting them have the last word. It just means you're waiting for them to state their point, to show who they are, so that you can respond. And having patience along the spiritual path is very important as well. This is why it's such an important virtue, because having patience with your spiritual practices, with your self-understanding, with your gaining of knowledge, and with your relationship to those around you, which aid your spiritual path, your interactions with other human beings, having patience in all these areas allows one to really develop that connection with the source, with God. The gods being different parts of this source, or one God that everything is ultimately a part of. I like to refer to it as the source, because the word God has a lot of connotations with it that don't really match my beliefs. But now, if you follow patience to its natural, reservoir, then you find it connects to all the other virtues. All the virtues in the end are connected, and they're different paths leading the same direction, just like different spiritual paths if they are truly spiritual. Now, let's talk about wisdom. Wisdom at first requires a gaining of knowledge. So you have to basically take in as much knowledge as possible, learn from the people who have used this knowledge effectively, and try to digest the knowledge and the experiences of others, and make your own experiences with that knowledge, your relationship to the different forms of knowledge you gain, whether it be knowledge of how to meditate, or the oneness of everything, or if the essence of spiritual practice, and how every spiritual practice has its personal relationship to a piece of God, and how that piece of God relates to God, and the different dimensions, and how they relate, and how they exist in every other dimension. No matter, and these are just some examples, but no matter where the knowledge is, you take in as much as possible, then you contemplate it. Meditation really helps, but you contemplate this knowledge again and again and again, roll it around in your mind. And then you try to affect this knowledge, this very esoteric knowledge, into your life, to where you're having a personal relationship with this knowledge as you initiate it in your life, whether it be the smallest personal things. Then you truly start to become one with this knowledge, creating wisdom. Through your own experience of knowledge, wisdom is created. So I've listed a couple different virtues here. My number one lesson that I would like to communicate in this video is that you must develop a personal relationship in your practice of virtue, leading towards the source, leading towards this oneness from which we all came, because that is the direction that will lead you closer to yourself, and further away from attachment, further away from these cravings that we have as human beings, further away from that which holds us back and limits us to this one body, and further towards something that is beyond any single form, that is formless, that is timeless, that is eternal, that is immortal. And you don't want to be bound within this form. And I don't just mean this body when I say form, I mean the ego. The ego binds us into this thing that we think of as ourselves as being, and then everything else is on the outside. No, we must be able to work our way away from these forms and become truly immortal souls. All souls are immortal, but becoming one with our soul allows us to become immortals in a sense. And we are beyond all forms, so we aren't even confined within a soul form, or a body form, or spirit form, and we most certainly aren't confined within ghosts, which are really our attachments and cravings and our personality that are left behind as the soul moves on. And that's one of the worst fates that somebody can have, is remaining as a hungry ghost. Now, there are ghosts that tend to stick around for a while and protect, and then kind of pass on. And really, we want our ego, our old forms, to dissolve into God, the source, whatever you want to call it. And that is the way, that is the snowy peak on the horizon. We still have this valley to walk through, and I don't know everything. I'm not a master. I'm not certainly not a guru. I'm just a person like you who has tried to understand these things and has his own spiritual path. But hey, thank you very much for watching. This has been informative. Feel free to shoot down a comment section below if you thought it wasn't, or if it was. If you liked the video at all, hit that thumbs up down there. It really helps out the channel. I really appreciate it. Now, I would encourage you, take up virtue.